Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, welcome to the show. This is the Millennial Millionaire Podcast, and I am your host, Stephen Cohen. This podcast is focused on bringing some of the wisest minds from across the globe to discuss concepts, strategies, and ideals that will lead them to be top performers in their respective industries and their lives. This show is for the millennials and millennials at heart to transcend their mindset, their health, and their income to the next level. We are so excited to have you on this journey with us. Welcome to the show. Yo, welcome back to the show, Millennial Millionaires. Today, we have another special guest with one of the coolest last names that I think I've had the honor of talking to in a while. We have Jason Wojo. Jason is a wizard when it comes to online ads. He's done over $100 million in paid ads for clients. He's been featured in magazines like Entrepreneur and Forbes. He is a coach, a speaker. Just came down here from Orlando and just a super cool guy. Excited to have him on the show. Thanks for coming, man.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, man. For those that have no idea who you are, give a quick little background about who you are, what you're about, and we'll hop into it, man.
Yeah. So Jason Wojo, I'm a 9-figure advertiser. I first started in local business marketing. That was back when I lived in New York. And then I, got Ty Lopez's course, transitioned into finally moving to Orlando. And then during that period, got into like coaches, consultants, service providers, e-com, the whole 9 yards. We worked in 90 plus niches and verticals. And right now we run Wojo Media and Scale Your Ads. So Wojo Media is our full stack agency where we do like anywhere from ads to emails to funnels. Basically, we manage your whole entire marketing campaign from start to finish. And then Scale Your Ads is our events that we run. So they're like free, weekly events. We're actually on tour right now. So it's every single week. 22 weeks in a row. We are exhausted, but it's worth it.
Grinding.
And yeah, so we just run both. And, Scale Your Ads is a bolt-on. And yeah, dude, now I work with some of the biggest people in the industry. And I'm trying to get, just more in the know and being on more podcasts and just, building the brand this year.
I love that, dude. It's so interesting to me because it feels like over the last 5, 6, 7 years, maybe it was because of the Ty Lopez's of the world, and now you have all these people, but the birth of just online marketing and advertisement and just making money online. I remember when I first got into entrepreneurship, this is back in 2012. I remember watching all these different YouTube videos. It was when Instagram really started to pop off. And I could never wrap my head around, like, how do you actually make money offline? I thought it was a scam. So I guess my question for you, dude, is how can people make money online when they're first starting out? Maybe they're working a dead-end job. Maybe they're not fulfilled in what they're doing, and they know there's more out there. They have access to all this information. Like, what advice would you give to people to get their foot off the ground and start creating some remote income?
I mean, dude, the three biggest things that I always tell people is there's big reasons why people go through this pendulum of like, oh, I want to become an entrepreneur. They try it, they fail, and then they shine onto something else that's shiny. And then they just keep them to the pendulum. And like the three things that I always recommend is to get out of the pendulum is learn sales. Like sales is a skill that will always pay the bills. Second thing is you could be an appointment setter for somebody too. Like it's not being as good as a sales rep would be, but being an appointment setter, you can still make $5,000 to $7,000 a month being an appointment setter. And then third would be find somebody who's big in the industry and become their assistant and just like learn from them and soak up the actual like environment, the energy, their network, etc. I think those are like really important things because like when you say make money online, everyone's like, oh yeah, go like make a course or go do dropship. And like, to be honest, those things are not in your scope right now. And you're going to go through that pendulum like every single time. You're going to start a dropshipping store, then you're going to start doing affiliate marketing, then you're going to start doing something random. Who even knows what's even next? And I just think that people should really focus on skills. Because regardless of where you're at, dude, skills pay the bills, and sales is always number one. Like if you're trying to replace your job income, maybe they're making $5,000, $7,000, $4,000 a month, dude. You can make $10,000 a month doing sales, easily.
Easy, dude. No, I love that. And I think there's such a big misconception, and I'm sure you agree with me, of the average millionaire has 7 sources of income. So to your point, everyone is crypto investors and drop shippers and Facebook stores, and they're knocking doors and selling solar on the side. When in reality, you're never going to get good at anything because you're not focused on mastery. You're focused on chasing that next shiny object. I'm curious, man, because your background is obviously sales, but also marketing. What do you think is more important, marketing or sales?
Dude, I get asked this question a lot. So, okay, sales is massively important when your marketing lacks a little bit. So, like, if your marketing's really sexy, you have a good offer, and you have good copy, you have good messaging, you have a good process, you have good funnels, like your sales doesn't have to be as good, and brand helps off the marketing side. So like sales and marketing kind of like play this up and down pendulum. You know, where they're balanced is very hard to find. But yeah, like I always say, dude, if your marketing's really sexy and it's good, your sales have to be as good. So it's like your marketing just has to have a really irresistible ecosystem to where people will buy regardless of how good the salesperson is. Like that's when you're making a layup for salespeople. That's when you really make it like a scalable system where anybody can really come into your ecosystem and become a sales rep so you can scale.
No, I love that, dude. Did you start with building your personal brand, or did you start with the skill set of acquiring clients, creating an undeliverable product? How did you get started? And because I think right now, the reason I ask this question is because I think everyone knows it's important to build a personal brand. That's why I got into it. You know, I started my solar business, did well, made decent money, invested, real estate, did that whole part first. And I'm like, hey, I should probably start documenting this stuff. I should probably start creating some content because I know that my reach is limited based on who knows me. And in today's world, it doesn't matter what your resume says, it matters what your Instagram shows. So when you started out, was building a personal brand a focus for you, or was it more of how do I master the skill of ads, marketing, so on and so forth?
So that's where I was only mastering the skill because of one reason, right? I was building a personal brand, but like a lot of people get this twisted. They're like, oh, I'm going to build my personal brand, but you don't do it correctly because you don't have enough money to actually spend on it to do it correctly. So like I was doing it, but it was kind of like half-assed in the beginning because I didn't have a lot of money. So I used my skills to make money to then dive into the personal brand and make it better. So either it was hiring videographers, photographers, you know, like getting on pods and, you know, investing in the right video editing, all these things, dude. It was something where I had to look at it from a different scope because like there's people who build a personal brand and their images are trash. They're using Canva to make posts and it's like, dude, no. Acquire skills, build the business, make that money, and then drive that revenue into the personal brand so that that thing stays just as quality as your skills and businesses. Because that's what you're front facing. Like you could do all that stuff, dude. You could be a faceless, like rich person. You don't have to.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, dude. Like you could be really like what we call as like stealth wealth.
Yeah.
So you could have that all you want. But if you have a personal brand, that thing still had to be fermented correctly so that it complements what you've done with your skills in your business.
No, I love that, dude. When it comes to crafting a product or an irresistible offer, what goes into that? Like, do you do market research? Are you looking at trends all the time? Like, how do you know when, what, and how to deliver something to the marketplace?
Yeah. So biggest thing to look for is like, yeah, I do research, but I'm not just going to copycat people because if you copycat somebody else, odds are they copycatted someone else and they copycatted someone else. And that's what actually builds market saturation. It's just this constant copycatting. So what I do instead is I look at people's offers, but I use it as inspo. So it's like, all right, like, what did you say? What was your messaging? What does your landing page look like? Okay, how can we make our offer better? Because what they're doing is good, but it could always be better. So why don't I take the research from this and try to just refine it and then create a new offer within it? And then from there, I look at what do we do in a business that we do 20% of the time that makes up 80% of the actual revenue and the result. And also, what are we giving to people that feeds laziness and lack of common sense? So like these two things combined, how do we provide a product that's so stupid simple for people to understand that provides a good result or even a quick win? And that's how I build good offers. And it also comes down to like problems because like if people don't have problems, then your solution isn't really going to do much. So I always find like an offer that solves a massive problem at scale.
No, 100%, dude. I'm curious. This is more of a personal question. You're very convicted in what you say, and you're a really good communicator. Were you always like that? Or did something shift in your life where you're like, hey, I should probably start getting good at communication, influence, persuasion, and really get convicted in who you are as a person?
Oh, dude, that's a good question. What I would say is that I got a lot better at it when I was getting better at copy. Like for any copywriters who are listening to this, you know what I mean. Is like when you're writing copy and you're storytelling and you're writing messaging and infatuations and like really writing a sales letter or a video sales letter or whatever webinar, you're really good at communicating through words. So you're even better at being more mysterious through like actually physical like being. So it was something that I learned just over time. But also, dude, I had to force myself to be a good communicator because number one, I wanted people to listen to me. And number two, like I wanted to be in bigger rooms. So I had to force myself to learn that, like body language, tonality, like the way you speak to people. You know, it also lets you see the future. That's a really like a good side piece, is that the way that you communicate and the way that you see communication between two people is the way that you can see the future. Like I could tell just right off the rip if I'm communicating with somebody new, like how far is this going? And you could just tell, dude. Body language, tonality, the voice, the up and down, the way someone moves their hands, like all that.
No, I agree with you, man. I mean, I've been in sales for over a decade, and it's so interesting to me because, we say in door-to-door, if you do 2 years of door-to-door, it's kind of like getting a bachelor's degree in communication in the real world, because being able to read body language, mirror and match, tonality, like regardless if you're in sales, in the profession of sales, or if you just want to be effective in life, everything that you do is some sort of sale, right? Like if you are a father, you need to sell your kids on why they should be good people, eat their vegetables, and, not go out and get trashed on the weekend, right? Like if you're a husband, you need to sell your wife on why she shouldn't ditch you at the club and go, hook up with some dude, right? Like you're always selling no matter what, but it's the people that are most mindful of that. So it's so interesting to me that you learned part of your communication from online, and how that translated to offline. Do you feel like when you, I guess, growing up, you had like a chip on your shoulder, or you always wanted big things and big goals or dreams, or was it something that just inherently you knew as you started getting older?
I think it was a combination of two things. Like number one was I grew up like not like poor, but like $80,000 a year poor, I guess. If that's gonna piss anybody off, but that's pretty poor. Like we didn't really have
today.
much. Yeah. Like it's not a lot. So like we used to like eat at Perkins, and we didn't really get to go out to like Longhorn Steakhouse and stuff like that. Like that was the difference in the places that we ate. The difference between an $80 pair of sneakers and $60 pair of sneakers, that was like eating dinner for us. So it was like seeing those decisions and seeing how my dad would come home on Friday nights and like look through the mail. And, like, we wouldn't be able to eat dinner with my dad some nights because, like, he would sit there and eat the leftovers that my mom would cook. And, like, if he got a bill in the mail, he would be so pissed. Like, he would just, like, be mad and just randomly start yelling. And I was like, bro, I can't eat dinner with you because, like, I feel like you're attacking me and I'm not even the problem.
Yeah.
So when I grew up like that, our house was very small, too, like 800 square feet, small as hell. And, like, when you live in a house that small, everything can hear everything and, like, you have no privacy. So when I was hearing all these discussions, like, dude, every single discussion was about money or like time or like, oh, we're not gonna do that because it's gonna cost us something, and like, it just made me realize that my dad's life revolved around retirement, saving money, and like being frugal. And I was like, I don't want to live like that. So that was the first piece. Second piece is that I didn't really grow up with a lot of friends, dude. Like no one really listened to me at all. So it was kind of hard to sit there and be poor and no one listened to me. So I equated those two things. I'm like, all right, no one listens to me because I'm poor. So how do I get people to listen to me? I got to make money. So that was really it. That was what drove me. I was like, oh, like also when I moved to Orlando, I'm driving down and like Florida was a different economy than New York. So like, at least where I'm from, like New York is rich in Manhattan, but I lived on outskirts. So like it was broker. So like when you go to Florida and you're in a nicer neighborhood, you see all these kids that are like driving like cool Mustangs and like shit like that. And I felt poor because I had a Ford Focus, bro. I was broke. So like when you see that, I was like, all right, like I have to make everybody listen to me. So I'm going to get rich as possible in the next like 2 years. And that was really what drove me, dude. I was just mad about like being the kid that pulled up to a birthday party or some type of party and like everybody else had like cooler cars and shit. And I was like this dinky Ford Focus. I couldn't even pull the emergency brake on. It was terrible.
Yeah, no, I love that. What do you think separates the people that you're in a similar situation? Because I had a similar background in terms of, I always think that middle class people, because by some people's means, $80,000 back then was middle class. Mm-hmm. I always feel like middle class people have it the hardest when it comes to like having desire and inspiration, motivation. Because like when you're poor, you're kind of like desperate, you know, like you need to make something happen, right? Like you're back against the wall. You see so much pain in terms of money. Therefore, as you get older, you know, Tony Robbins says you're either running to pleasure or away from pain, right? So you run towards the thing that you wanted. And then when you grew up somewhat affluent, you have a lot of the habits and rituals, and you get to see what success looks like from a younger age. So as you grow older, I feel like middle class though is kind of stuck in the middle, where there's not enough pain in some scenarios to push you to really want to do big things, and you also don't really learn anything growing up. You're kind of like in a tough situation. So I'm curious for other people that grew up in a similar situation than you did, right? Maybe they had a Prius and not a Ford Focus, and they were pissed off. Why do you think some people make a decision to get wealthy or to go out there and attack their dreams and go execute, where other people have that same circumstance, but they don't end up making it happen, or they don't have the desire to?
So biggest thing I've seen do with the middle class piece, which is a good point you made, is there's actually a reason why middle class people like staying there. And it's because if I push too far to the left, I now have to drop my ego. And if I take a risk to go to the right, which is being rich, I could fall to the left. And if I go all the way to the right, I now have to leave behind my middle class complacency, and now I have to go do more work to be rich. But people who are poor, yes, they go more desperate and they're trying. But like, dude, you know what's crazy is I think that poor people like being poor. It's because they like the attention. They like the struggle. Because poor people, when they talk and they're in a group, they're like, they get to talk about their struggles with other people who are poor, and they resonate with each other. They're like, yo, dude, that car outside's really killing me. And then someone else who might be poor is like, yeah, dude, like I can't get out of this lease. Like my payments are so high, like I can't afford it. And everybody is talking the same conversation, and they like the empathy and the condolences of everybody. But people who are in middle class, and let's say there's one middle class person and 3 rich people, the middle class person now hates the rich people because they have a different conversation that they can't relate to. So it's like, I just think people really like being poor. They like the struggle. They just like having all the eyeballs on them, and they want everybody to feel bad for them and help them. Because like, oh, well, you're rich, help us. Same thing with like politics. Like, you're rich, help us. Like, we need checks.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, dude. And that's something I recently really discovered, is that people don't want to be rich all the time. They like the complacency of being like, hey, I make 6 to 10 grand a month. Like, my cars are paid for. My wife's happy. My kids are healthy. Like, I'm chilling. So, I mean, the other thing too is just sacrifice, I think. Being able to say yes to something, to say no to something else is definitely important. Like, even with me, dude, I said no to like women, parties, like cool vacations, pleasures, complacency, but I said yes to, being lonely, getting rich, being told I was crazy, and like all these other things that come with going that route. And that comes back to the same point that I made about the attention. Like, poor people like the attention. When you try to go rich, you're going to be really fucking lonely, which means that you got to be okay being lonely, which means that you get no attention. So it's kind of like this push and pull friction.
No, I agree with you, man. I think everyone does something because there's a payoff, right? Whether they're conscious or unconscious of it. And I think a lot of people naturally, they just like playing victim, and I even catch myself in it. It doesn't matter how much personal development you do or how much inner work you do. It's like you still catch yourself going back to the old you or your old identity, or some of the limiting beliefs or unconscious programs start to surface from a younger age. That's why it's so important to have conversations like this and continue to surround yourself with higher consciousness people to hopefully not allow those to sprout into anything more than seeds that once were your life.
Yeah.
No, I love that, dude. Let's talk a little bit about money, because I know you're the online guy. I'm Jewish, so naturally I like money. And growing up, I never had any. But I'm always curious, what is your perspective on money? And do you think it makes you a better person, a worse person? And is it a tool, or is it something that you feel like people need to have in order to experience life at the highest level?
Oh, geez.
A lot of questions there.
Yeah, let's unpack this. So, okay, first of all, money is an amplifier of who you are. So if you're a jerk, you're going to be more of a jerk. If you're more of a loving person, then you'll be more loving. I feel like it just amplifies. The next piece of that is my belief on money is that it is a tool. You use it to get the things that you want. Now, the last question that you had was like when do you think life starts? Dude, people are going to hate me for this, but dude, I think that life starts at like $30K a month. Personally. Because you look at it like, I just want to make $1,000 a day. That's the way that I look at it. Let me make $1,000 a day. And I feel like that's enough for you to like do the things that you want. Like if you're sitting there like, oh, $1,000 a day is hard. Okay, well, let me just break this down to you. If you want a nice car, okay, you're 45 days away from a decently nice car. If you want a nice watch, you're about 20 days away from a decently nice watch. If you want to stay in cool hotels every weekend, you can do that with $1,000 a day. So like, I think that once you make $30K a month and you're profiting as a solopreneur, that's where I think life actually starts. Like $10K a month is kind of hard. $20K a month, you're good, but like getting to 30 is just cool because it's $1,000 a day. I feel like that gives you the freedom to make decisions on whatever the hell you want.
I agree with you, dude. I agree with you. I remember when I first got started in entrepreneurship, I thought 6 figures, 100K a year was my target. I'd be able to travel the world, retire my parents, buy all the things that I want to. And I hit that in 2016 and I was like, man, I'm still paycheck to paycheck. I was living in San Jose, California. My rent was $4,000. Granted, I split it $2,000, but after all my expenses, paying taxes, I literally had nothing left over. And I think the 6-figure mentality is an old paradigm because I think that 6 figures for our parents' generation was a lot of money because inflation wasn't as bad. Things weren't as expensive. Your money would get you a lot further. We're even living in Vegas today, which is semi-cheap compared to like a California or other places. Like 100K is not a lot of money after taxes, expenses, car payments, child support, like all the things. Like you're barely left with enough to go enjoy your life. So I agree with you. I think that $250,000 to $300,000 a year really does allow you to open up things, and it allows you to invest. It allows you to do certain things. Do you think that there is an identity prevention when it comes to people making that amount of money? Because I don't know the statistics off the top of my head. I know it's pretty bad though. I know the average person makes like $70K a year. I know they have less than $1,000 in their bank account.
Too high.
Way less. Average family, maybe.
I think the average household income's like 55 to 65,000. That's household.
That's crazy.
Individual, I think, is like 35.
It's crazy, dude. So yeah, I guess the question is like, why do you think people aren't making that type of income, regardless of their industry? Because I have a belief that, we live in abundance and there's more than enough out there. And sure, there's going to be people that are working at McDonald's and there's people that have to do certain things. But the majority of people that have skills and that live in a place that has opportunity like America, they should have access to living the lifestyle that they should because you're going to die. So like, why do you think people get stuck, get complacent, and don't maximize their earning potential to, again, open up your life to that limit?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, dude, is that people know what they have to do, but they don't want to do it. So, like, they know they have access to the right information. They know they have access to the right people. And they know that they have access to actually do the things that they want. They have Wi-Fi, but they just don't want to do it because two things. Like, they either don't believe in themselves or they think that if they become rich, they're going to become assholes. And I think that that's a huge thing. It's the belief that you have around money that dictates if you go after it or not. Because you look at all the stuff on the news and stuff, people are like, oh, well, rich people are assholes. They're always up to something. They're always doing something. This guy's putting up a building. This guy's not paying any taxes. This guy's doing this. Like, they associate that with bombarding, like communities, citizens, shit like that. So they have beliefs around that. But yeah, dude, I mean, the access and everything's there. Like, going on YouTube for free, you could go make money doing that. Like, you can make money posting on YouTube. You can make money building an agency. Like, just so many things, dude. You can do whatever the hell you want. It's just, I just don't think people have the actual, like, fire and initiative. Also, dude, side note is people, like, they know what they need to do. And like I said, they know what they need to do, but they don't do it. It's because they're too distracted. So, like, when you're from 21 to 30, you kind of, like, most people mess themselves up 21 to 30. Now, some people are against this norm, which I get. But like, dude, I just see too many people from 21 to 30 getting in marriages and having kids that they shouldn't be having and getting these big homes when they shouldn't be getting them. Like, they're taking on distractions.
Yep.
When they're not even fully focused as a high value person, man, woman, whatever, they're just not focused. So they get into these family obligations and all this shit, like where they want to live. They get a home because they got married and they just don't want to, like, maybe still rent or whatever the case may be. They just take on obligations that they really should not be taking on. And it distracts them from their actual dreams.
Yep.
And dude, I see that so much. It's terrible.
I love that, dude. It reminds me of that Joe Rogan video where it's just like you kind of get stuck in a video game.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate where when I got kind of into entrepreneurship and started this, I didn't have kids. I didn't have any responsibility. So I was able to take risks because I had nothing that I needed to count on, where I see so many people from my high school and college that, to your point, right, that 21 to 30 range, they get tied down and they take the safe route at first. And by the time they realize the safe route is the wrong route, it's too late because they have responsibilities. What advice would you tell those people, Jason? Maybe they're listening to you right now and they're like, yo, that's me, right? I'm 30 years old. I'm 35 years old. I'm 28 years old. Age is objective at the end of the day, but it's like, I'm not happy where I'm at and I'm looking to change the trajectory of my life, but I have responsibilities. I have a mortgage. I have rent. I have child support. You know, we live in Vegas, so there's a lot of people child support. What advice would you give these people?
The biggest thing I would say is like chip away at the things that are weighing you down. Like I know that sounds so easy and vague, but like let's say you're in a relationship that you don't want to be in anymore. Okay, well, like you have to figure out what the means are to that end. So like, how do I get out of the relationship without losing something financially? Or even if I have to lose something financially, I can take 3 steps back to take 4 steps forward. Or maybe you have a kid. Okay, well, if you have a kid, I mean, to be honest, like if you're a guy and you have a kid, you should have enough passion and power to like push through and make sure that the kid's being taken care of. If you're not motivated by having a child, like I don't know what it feels like, but I feel like that means that you're just not a high value person. You just weren't put in the right environment or pushed correctly to actually like provide and protect for people. Or you didn't see it when you were a kid growing up. Like maybe you were, you know, living with a single mom or a single dad. You didn't get to see the leadership in the home. So like, dude, it's all about chipping away. Like also people take on cars they shouldn't afford, like be buying and they can't afford. Okay, well, like figure out how you can either Turo that thing out, stay at home and like pay for it. Like it's all about options, dude. And like I always say, dude, one of my favorite quotes is when you say yes to something, you say no to something else. Like, also, like I said before, do the sacrifice. You have to sacrifice to get what you want. So if people are taking on all those things, you have a mortgage, okay, well, like figure out how to increase the value of the home so you can break even and get the hell out. Like there's always a way, dude. It's just that people just don't want to do it. Like they know what they have to do, but they're so lazy to do it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, dude. It's like I want a 6-pack. I know what I need to do to get a 6-pack. Yeah. I need to eat clean. I need to go to the gym 5 days a week. I need to hire a trainer. I need to stop drinking alcohol. I need to do all the things. Probably stop smoking so much weed so I get the munchies. And but I just don't do it, you know. And I think, you know, as funny as an example that is, like that's what most people do in their life. Yeah. You know, it's like, hey, you want to be successful? You want to make a lot of money? You want to drive a nice car? Yeah. I want to do that. Then why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you taking steps? And I think you're right, dude. I think it's just the desire level isn't there to make them uncomfortable enough to change. And until the pain of change outweighs the pain of staying the same.
Because they like pleasure. That's the other thing too, dude, is like you'll take a guy who's like, let's say he's 25 and he's got a girlfriend and, you know, he's got a decent apartment and, you know, maybe he has like a decent entry level car, right? The pleasure in him having those things and the complacency and the safety to, you know, have consistent love and intimacy, to have consistent complacency, to have that consistent car, like it's hard to break them out of the habit. Like they're not going to say no and be like, hey, like I don't want this girlfriend anymore. She's distracting. I need to focus on me. And dude, I'm going to be honest, man. Like I've only seen a couple of my friends actually have good girlfriends that let them be their man of path and purpose. Like it's hard to find a girl who won't distract you. Like, it's honestly really difficult, dude, because most women just want a lot of attention. It's hard to find a woman out there who's like, hey, go out and do your thing. Like, I'll still be here, but I know that you have to go do that thing. And a lot of men get with women who just want attention all the damn time, and it distracts them because they don't want to say no to them. And I think that's a huge thing, dude. Like, I did a lot of stupid stuff. Like, I got a dog when I shouldn't have had a dog because, you know, I was just getting out of a relationship. I wanted attention, and I was kind of, like, stuck. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to get a dog because I want attention. Like, I feel like a dog is cool. And then I realized how stupid of an idea that was because I wasn't just able to take a step back and be like, all right, like, how would I be happy on my own? So, like, I've done stupid stuff, too. Dude, I bought cars I probably shouldn't have bought. Like, you just learn. It's like, but sometimes, dude, I don't learn. Like, I'm not perfect. Like, I told myself the first McLaren I got was a dumb idea. I enjoyed it. And then I still bought a second one anyway. So, like, it's just, dude, everyone's got their vices. And, yeah, dude, it's just a bad rap, but
I mean, yeah. And I'm with you there. I think there's a delicate balance. You know, our last episode, I was talking to some real estate investors and I'm always curious their response to this. It's like, where's the balance between saving, investing, right? Paying yourself first, making sure you're setting yourself up for freedom long-term. So you have choices and options to your point, but also rewarding yourself and allowing yourself to get the trophies, the watches, the cars. And it's always interesting to hear people's response. What's your take on that? Because I think you need balance in both, right? You just can't work, grind, invest, because you may die. And then it's like, okay, I didn't enjoy my life. I didn't do the things I wanted. But at the same time, you can't be on the other side of the spectrum because then you're still in the rat race and you're still having to trade time for money.
Yeah, I mean, I have a decent perspective about this. I just thought like, until I had really high standards. I was a little bit of a psycho. Until I had $1 million in the bank, then I would buy stupid shit. That was my thing. Like, let me just have $1 million in the bank.
$1 million liquid or like $1 million in your net worth?
No, like $1 million liquid. Like, I need $1 million liquid just sitting in there so that in case some shit goes down, Like, I can pay for things and I can get out of the situation. Like, I still took on my dad's behaviors, like save, save, save. And that's what I did for the first 4 years of entrepreneurship. I was just like, all right, like save, don't spend money. Okay, cool, save, save, save. And that's what I did because I was a solopreneur for a while. And I pocketed a lot of money because I was just always, my profit margins were 90%. I had no payroll. I had maybe like 2 developers and a social media guy. So like it was a lot easier for me to save that. But like that was my thing, dude. But I think that there is a balance, but also you need to reward yourself to push yourself. Like I was stuck at the same revenue for probably about 2 years in a row. And I was like, why am I not growing? And I was like, maybe because my bills are too damn low. And that's when I decided to take on a bigger house, and I took on 2 cars, actually 4. And then I just started like buying shit to push me, and it made me more money, but like it didn't solve other problems in my life though. So it just depends on who you are. Like I just took it as a motivational thing of like, all right, I have to bridge the gap with my expenses.
Yeah, I like what you said there. I think pressure is a privilege. I just bought a new house, 1.5 million, which compared to the other house is more than a double. And the reason I did that is because what you just said, I felt like I was getting comfortable. I was getting complacent. I felt like I was at my other spot. The mortgage was way too cheap. I still have it. I rented it out, but I was like, I need to get around inspiration. I need to put myself in a pressure situation. So it demands more out of me because I think what happens is, and I think this is the challenge with most people, you get so complacent in your job and in your routine and where you live and your neighborhood and the people that you spend time with that your life kind of mushes together. I have a theory. I don't know. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on this. People always all the time say the older you get, the quicker time goes by. My parents were like, oh, it was just 10 years ago, just yesterday, right? And even myself, right? I turned 30 this year, and I'm like, damn, I remember my 21st birthday. I remember my 25th birthday. And my theory is it's like when you're a kid, it feels like time goes by so slow, and every day feels like a year. Where it's like when you're an adult, it's like it feels like decades turn into days. And my theory is people get so routine that they stop doing new things. So literally your unconscious mind takes over, and then time just morphs together. Yeah. What's your perspective on time, being present, and just making sure you're maximizing the time we have?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with me with time is that, like, I know it's something that I won't get back, but I still feel like sometimes I have to like pour my time at other people to make my presence a little bit more like impactful. Like a lot of people will be like, oh, like that's not worth my time. And I'm like, all right, like you have to actually weigh a couple things. Like that is an ego response. But what if like you spent 10, 15 minutes with somebody and it kind of like helped them, and then they forever thought about you or vouched for you? Like imagine you just had more people vouch for you if you just gave them more of your time. And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, go slave away, give everybody your time. But that's what I look at too. Like when you get to a place where you have money, then you kind of realize that like you see other people who are trying to climb up the ladder, and you're willing to give them their time because they're, following you as a leader, and they also really respect you. And I feel like that's a cool scenario to give them your time, because it kind of reminds me of when I was first trying to like figure shit out. Yeah. And there's a lot of things now like, yeah, dude, I don't trade time for money, but like I trade a lot of money to help other people. Like I do a lot of things for people that like some people really don't realize. I'm actually a lot nicer than what it seems like. Cause like some people are like when I'm on camera, they're like, oh, like, you're so like direct. I'm like, bro, if you like are in my friend circle, I take good care of you. Yeah, so like it just depends on like the perspective of how that looks to you and what you're trying to leave, like a mark. Yeah, dude. But then obviously like, no, I'm not gonna go like, get coffee with somebody on Instagram who DMs me, like that. No, that's a waste of my time. But, also when you start to get up in this ladder of entrepreneurship, you start to meet really, really cool people, and you're willing to sacrifice time to be with them because they have value. A lot of people are like, oh, you won't meet with somebody because they don't have money. It's not always about money. It's about value. Like if you don't provide value to a marketplace, you're not going to get anybody's attention. Like, oh, you're just some guy who DM me. Like, why do you deserve my time? What value do you provide? So I just think that, yeah, dude, I think that people have that twisted because they always think that like people are greedy when they have that ego about it, but it's about value because the marketplace is derived in value. It's an exchange of value in time or value in currency. So it's like, that's the way I look at it.
No, I love that, dude. Yeah, I don't care what everyone else says. You're a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, I try.
When it comes to mentorship, dude, do you feel like you've learned more from your own failures or more from mentorship from other people?
Shit. I mean, I'm always a big fan of paying to play. I do have a couple of mentors that I do ask questions from and whatnot, but me in the marketing sense, I learn a lot from failures and I use mentors for shortcuts. So like marketing gives me data that will then tell me if I'm right or wrong, which is technically a failure and a win at the same time. But mentors I look to for reassurance and clarity. So like if I'm about to make a decision that might cost me a lot of money, I will go to a mentor because that's clarity and reassurance. Is this like, I'll go to, like Jason Calvin, like, dude, is this stupid? Is this worth it? Okay, cool. I just wanted to know, like, before I like pulled the trigger, like what you think is like smart. And then with spending money on marketing, that's all data. So it's just numbers. So I'm willing to make mistakes in marketing because that's my ecosystem and someone else can't tell me about my ecosystem because they weren't in it. So I'm going to let the market dictate my decisions for me instead of asking a person.
No, I like that a lot, man, because, I think it's important. I think to your point, you do need to pay to play. You can't just reach out to someone who's a multimillionaire and, hey, let me take you out for breakfast, dude. Like, you got to respect people's time. But at the same time, I feel like people need to go through their own trial tribulations because there's so many people out there. And I was one of them for year after year. I'd go to all the conferences. I go to all the events. I do all the things and nothing would change. Yeah. And I go back every single time and I'd be like, why am I still in the same position? And it wasn't until I was like, you know what? It's because I need to commit. I need to just go through my own journey. I need to stop comparing my chapter 10 to someone else's chapter 30. And then things change when you finally change. When it comes to skill sets, what do you think has allowed you to get to where you are? Is it more important? And maybe it's not a question of more important, but when it comes to the success principles of being successful versus the mechanics of being successful, what do you think is more important?
Dude, it's neither. It's actually, he's gonna laugh. It's literally just understanding human psychology. Like, bro, if I can understand how people move, talk, listen, act, and fruition, then you can make any amount of money you want. Like, I can just read humans. I'm just so good at it. And my friends think I'm freaking crazy. I think that's the one thing that set me apart was like, I can see somebody across the room and be like, got it. I don't know. It's just weird as hell. I don't know. But I think that's the most important skill for sure. Because once you understand human psychology, if you know how people act, talk, listen, are purposed by or impacted by or influenced by or, whatever, then you can get people to be a part of your mission. You can get them to follow you because then you become the leader because you understand how they think and talk and look and listen and all this shit.
I love that, man. Yeah. Did not expect that answer, but I agree with you, dude. The power of enrollment, and I know it's not exactly what you're talking about, but the ability to influence, impact, recruit, enroll people into your vision, into your cause, into the things that you believe in to ultimately help them get to where they want to go. Because I think, the ancient proverb says that you can go fast alone, but you can go far together. Yeah. And I imagine even on the online world, your space, when it comes to marketing and ads, you need other humans in order to fulfill your mission.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I want to add to this is like, dude, when people complain about I can't find the right hires or I can't find the right people, it's because you're not a leader yourself. So it comes back to that same thing. Like if you don't understand how humans tick, then you can't lead humans. So people who are like, oh, I can't find the right hires, like these people suck. No, you're the one who sucks. But they don't want to admit that. Like you can't just like go up to somebody like, yeah, like it's not the hiring, it's not the qualification, like it's that they don't want to be a part of what you're doing. It's the same thing how I look at psychology. Like, how do I map my world and my leadership influence in a way that people want to follow? If people don't want to be a part of anything, then they're not going to be a part of it. They're not going to be motivated to keep pushing the company forward. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. Do you think leadership is a skill? And if so, how do people learn it?
I don't think it's a skill. I think it's an ambiance. I think people are gravitated towards you because of your ambiance and your tonality and your perspective and the way that you look at things and the way that you like speak and literally can speak through people. So skill is, you could be a skillful speaker. You could be a very good speaker, be able to persuade rooms and etc. But being a leader is something that people are attracted to follow. And it's not only about physique, it's not only about the ability to influence, but it's the ability to make people follow you as a leader. I feel like that's all about ambiance. Definitely. Because, like, dude, like, if you were, like, let's say you're running a mastermind and you're in a group of like 30 people. Do all 30 of those people understand that you're all on the same page and that you look at this person as the leader? Or are there people who have conflicted opinions in the room? And you can see that by body language. You could see if people are sitting there going like this, or they're yawning. You could see how influential you are and how much of a leader you are by how other people will react around you. So I feel like that's a really important piece.
I love that, dude. It's feedback, right?
Yeah.
Feedback is the one thing that is objective, and it's truth, right? You know, whenever I do sales trainings, I'm like, hey, you know, the best way to know if you're doing well or not is look at your bank account. You know, that's feedback. Or if you're a speaker giving a presentation, the best way is to look at other people or how they're responding to you.
Yeah.
And I heard this, I don't know where I heard it from, but it was talking about communication. And I think it goes hand in hand with leadership, because in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good communicator. In order to be a good communicator, you have to be a good leader, because if you aren't attuned with your own morals, integrity, values, then there's no way you can transfer that to people or groups. But they said that communication isn't what I tell you. Communication is how you receive what I tell you. So entail, if there's a communication breakdown or someone isn't following what you're saying, or in a sales presentation, if they don't understand what you're saying to get the sale, it's because you are not effectively communicating, because the way that they took that wasn't the way that you meant to. Therefore, there was a breakdown in communication. And I think it's so interesting that you say that, because I'm big on leadership, dude. And I think leadership is more than just other people following you, for sure, right? Like, to be considered a great leader, you need followers. But at the same time, if you don't have followers, the first person you need to lead is yourself. And the way you do that, I look at leadership as your integrity, your character. You know, I have a quote that says, hard work creates success, but character sustains it. And I know so many people that started the same time, before me, after me, on a similar plane or a different industry, that had quick success, but they lost it because their income out-earned their identity, or their income out-earned who they were as an individual. So then they lost it. So my question for you, Jason, is when it comes to sustaining success over a long period of time, because it's not just about crushing it a year. It's not about making one ad that makes a ton of money. It's not about crushing it for even a quarter or 5 years. It's about continuing to sustain and progress, because those are the people we look up to. We look over the people that have a massive track record in their career. What is your advice when it comes to sustainability in your professional career?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been able to sustain a good career because of just the fact that, like, we're always like developing a better product, number one. Number two is we're always trying to be better than what we were last year. Like, we have actual targets. I feel like a lot of people don't become better because they don't have targets. Third would be, like, dude, even with me in my young age, maybe I just got lucky, but like, I'm always changing as a person too. Like, I'm learning things about myself that then amplify more of who I am, which is becoming a better business person. So it's like, that could be a really key part about it. Another thing too is like who I'm surrounding myself with, like getting into bigger circles, and that stuff is really important. But overall, dude, like, everything will be solved about sustainability when you actually run a lean, good business. Like, when you run a business that is hanging on by a thread, or you're trying to spend all the money yourself, or you're not giving your team what they're worth, and all these things like that intrinsically will cause you to fall anyway. So the big thing about sustainability, and that I always talk about online, is like, dude, if we ran a business for 6 years and we haven't failed yet, it's probably because we're doing something right. And that's why you should work with us. So it's like, it's all, the proof is in the pudding. So I just think that sustainability is more than just having good product, you know, always developing, you know, team development, having the right morals, ethics, you know, values, all the, like, what people call corny stuff in a business that actually helps, like, you scale and grow. So everybody's aligned on the same values and, like, core beliefs. But also, dude, like, just grit wise, like, I just do more shit than everybody else. I think that me pushing myself to, like, do more offers and do more events and always, like, give people value and not, like, give with an expectation, and just, like, always being a part of the conversation in my industry has always allowed us to be sustainable. Like, not always sit behind the camera. So that also helped it out a ton too.
Well said, dude. Well said. Do you believe in balance?
I mean, dude, here's the thing, right? If you work a 9 to 5, I believe in work-life balance. But if you don't work a 9 to 5, dude, there is no such a thing fucking balance, dude. There's just no way. I mean, unless because here's the thing, dude. I can drop my ego enough to know that I'm young. So, like, maybe I don't know the answer to that yet. So, like, from now in my life, dude, I'm so busy grinding and trying to get to the next level that I don't have any balance. So, like, maybe that's a biased opinion, but at least I have the awareness to know that I'm wrong. But I just think that being an entrepreneur basically is the decision to be an imbalanced person. Like, you're just doing shit so against the norm, and norm is balance. So I feel like that quantifies it enough. But, like, yeah, 9 to 5 people, dude, they can have balance. They can have a dog at home. They can have the wife watching the kids. They can have all the balance. Entrepreneurs, dude, they always have random shit that comes up every single day, because when you're working a 9 to 5, the boss takes care of the shit. You don't really take care of it. You just get the leftovers. So, like, yeah, dude, no, definitely no balance.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I actually don't like that word. I think there's seasons in people's lives. And, you know, sometimes you could be in a season of reaping. Sometimes you could be a season of sowing. You know, when I first got started, I had to 100%, you know, 8-hour, 10-hour days, 6 days a week, like only focus on my business to eventually create enough momentum and have enough leverage where now I can have a little bit more balance with my fiance and, you know, with my family, because I'm in a season now where I'm able to reap some of the rewards. But that doesn't mean that there may not be another season coming up where I do have to sacrifice a lot of the leisure. So I think for people listening out there, it's self-awareness is really important, which I want to talk about because I know you're a big self-awareness guy, because I know you like Gary Vee. But it's about understanding the season that you're in and making sure that you're doubling down in that specific season. If it's a season of rest and recovery and recalibration, do that. If it's a season of grind, work ethic, commitment, sacrifice, do that. And understanding the season, just like the seasons of the winter, you don't want to be trying to reap in the winter. Understand that, and I think you'll be in a good shape.
Yeah. Always ride the momentum is what I say. Like, some people think that when they get a bunch of momentum, they're supposed to chill a little bit. They're like, all right, like, the momentum will just stay there. You have to ride the momentum.
Yeah, dude. I think there's 3 stages of momentum, since you brought that up. You have the building momentum, you have the sustaining momentum, and then you have the ascending momentum, or transcending momentum. Building momentum obviously sucks. That's the hardest part. That's pushing the boulder up the hill. You're new to the business. You're new to making ads, right? You have to go through all the trials, tribulations, learning curves. Eventually, you're going to get momentum. You start seeing results. Things will be good. Most people, when they, like you said, when they get to that sustaining momentum, they take the foot off the gas. And what happens is law of use says whatever you don't use, you lose. So you end up going backwards, back to the building momentum stage. For those that level up, they eventually get to the transcending momentum. And that's when the pivot happens. That's when your standards increase. That's when your identity shifts. That's when you go from making $10,000 a month to $40,000 a month and being able to sustain it. And then obviously it repeats and recycles because of new levels, new devils.
Yeah. Great.
When it comes to investing, dude, or anything that you're working on right now, obviously your cash flow is probably based from your business and stuff like that. You're young, I'm young, we're all young here. What are some things that you're doing to set yourself up so you're aligned with your long-term goals?
I'll be honest, dude. I do
buying
know,
a bunch of McLarens?
Dude, I do know investing right now. I know that's really, like, bad to admit, but I just feed the beast right now, because, like, I just take all the cash I have and I feed it into the income that I have, and I just make it bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, investing is, I have like a TD account and I do Robinhood. I mean, it's a small account size, but, like, I don't put all my eggs in that basket. I want to use the, like, nest egg that I have right now to fuel all the things that we're doing, so that later on down the road, dude, the investments are just easier to deploy.
No, I love that, dude. I mean, double down on what you got, continue to reinvest back in the business, and, you know, get it going. Dude, what drives you right now? What motivates you? Obviously, you have some nice things. You got some cars, you got some watches. What motivates you?
I think it's more about, like, where we're headed now. I mean, like, yeah, I like buying things, but, like, at the end of the day, it's not going to solve my problems. So, like, it's just like a reassurance thing for me. Like, all right, like, you're doing good. Like, all right, treat yourself, blah, blah, blah. You know, all right, now get your shit together and figure out the next thing. So it's the thing that, like, motivates me the most is just the fact that, like, I can't go any lower. Like, I'm at a spot where, like, there's a lot of people in the niche who look up to me, and I just can't, like, fall. Because that's like I'm not gonna lie, there's a huge ego fucking replacement. So, like, I want to keep running the space. And I feel like I'm doing a lot right now, and it's cool, and it's sexy, and it's exciting, and I just don't want to lose. Like, I don't want to have to go to zero. So honestly, yeah, that's probably it.
Just love the game.
Yeah.
Did you always know you would be in this position, or have you surprised yourself over the last couple of years?
Definitely surprised myself. Yeah. Like, I wasn't like I'm honestly not a good people person. Like, yeah, I'm easy to talk to, and a lot of people enjoy being around me, but I'm not this person who can be friends with 300 people. I could be friends with like 15. You know, I'm not like I don't have these like big like friend group things. Yeah, I definitely surprised myself. I was kind of stunned at everything. I just didn't really think it was like real. But then it's like you look at other people and you kind of compare yourself sometimes. Like, yeah, like I'm not perfect. Like I compare myself and I'm just like, damn, like maybe I'm not doing enough. But I still surprise myself. Yeah, of course. I think that where I came from, the situation that I had and the money that I had, like I didn't really have much to go off of. So I had to like figure it out. And I just had no other options. Also, dude, some people like make the wrong decisions and they don't want to admit when they're wrong. And I was just willing to admit that I was wrong. Now it's harder for me to admit that I'm wrong because I made it somewhat. So I'm like, I'm not wrong. Like I know this shit. But like sometimes I am wrong even when I say that. But when I was starting out, I was broke. So I was like, oh, like I'm wrong. So yeah, I definitely surprised myself for sure.
Yeah, I think that's important. You know, whether doesn't matter what level you're at, you have to be able to drown the ego a little bit. And
Yeah.
I think a little bit of ego is good, right? It gives men their competitive edge, right? It keeps you on your shit and high standards. But I think you always have to be coachable. You know, another quote, you know, you can't learn something from you can't learn everything from someone, but you can learn something from everyone. And I really believe that. I feel like part of the reason I've been able to get to where I am is I've always been a student of the game of success. But it also comes down to following people that have the results you want. I think one of the big pitfalls of most people is they listen to the wrong people. You know, they're listening to their parents, they're listening to their broke friends, they're listening to their college professor who is making 80 grand a year, bless his heart. But if he knew how to make a business, he would create a business. So they're taking advice from the wrong people and they're getting led in the wrong direction fast. So one thing that I always was aware of is, hey, if I wouldn't trade places with you, I'm not going to listen with you. And that doesn't mean if you're not making more money than me, I'm not going to listen to you, because there's always things that you can pick up. But I'm going to be very mindful of the information that I allow to penetrate my psyche, because I understand how powerful the unconscious mind is, and our environment will either dictate our input and the input will eventually dictate our output. Do you do anything, or are you intentional when it comes to who do you take information from, your environment and your surrounding?
Yeah, I mean, biggest thing is like, yeah, it's not always about if you make more money than me, but like, I'm not going to take advice about like money. Like, okay, I'll take advice from you about money if you make more. But if I'm asking you advice about like marriage, I'll go to somebody, even if they're broke, who's been married for 40, 50 years. Like that. Yeah, that's the correlation. And there is everything they can pick up from somebody else, for sure. It just depends on like where they're coming from with the information too, because their situation might be a lot different from mine. And sometimes we always like to take information because we feel like it's the next thing. It's like the next addicting thing that we can squeeze out of. It's like, oh, they gave me advice. Okay, cool. Like I got it and I should implement it. But like little do we realize that we need to like actually get context from where the information's coming from. Because like, dude, it's like even right now, like I live in Tampa, but like I still don't really enjoy it. So like I used to live in Orlando, live in Tampa, and I'm just like, okay, where the hell do I want to move? And I feel like I just have to push myself to try something else for a little bit. So I'm going to try Arizona out for a little bit. And like,
Come
see
to
how
Vegas,
that goes.
dude.
Yeah, dude. I'm just trying stuff because I'm like, I don't know what to do. And no one's giving me the right advice. Everyone's like, yeah, just do what you want to do. I'm like, oh, that's great advice. No one, okay. And then people who have been nomads are like, yeah, dude, see the world. But I'm like, all right, I'm not ready to see the whole fucking world yet. But like, you know, I still have to run a business and stuff. But it's like, I don't know the answer to that. I feel like I have to like kind of take that one on my own because I'm my own person. Like you could tell me, yo, go move to Seattle. But dude, like you might like Seattle. I might not like Seattle. So it's like, it's different for everybody. I feel like those kind of decisions I have to make on my own.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
No, I like what you said there, man, because there's so much information out there, like to the point where it's too much and it's overwhelming, and sometimes it's information paralysis, analyst paralysis, and I think it comes down to, again, self-awareness. It's like, what's good for me? Because just because this guy is a multi-millionaire, he could give me some advice that I definitely want to be open to and take it with a grain of salt, but it may not be great for where I'm at in my current life and where I'm at. And I want to go back to what you said earlier when you moved from, I believe it was New York to Florida. I think this blew up on Instagram a long time ago, but one of the best things I did for my life personally was move from Vegas. It was a forced move, but I moved from Vegas to SoCal for 2 years, SoCal and NorCal. And what that does is it gets you out of your environment. It gets you out of your friends group. It gets you out of your ecosystem to force you to go into fight or flight mode, to force you to adapt, to force you to make new friends, go to a new gym, create new hobbies. And I think most people, when they don't get out of their environment, again, they get complacent, they get content. That's why I like moving. Grant Cardone, he talks about don't buy a house. I don't agree fully, but part of the reason I like what he says is because you can stay nimble when you're renting and you're leasing. You can stay nimble. You don't get locked down into one place for 10 years. So I think what you're saying is, I think there's a point where you need to be grounded for a period of your life, but at the same time, you can't be so grounded where you get stuck, because I definitely think there's a difference. There's a correlation between mental flexibility and physical flexibility.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just want to test out what the world's got for me and just see what happens. I mean, I'm so young, I might as well take more risks while I'm young, see what's good. So, and also, dude, I can afford to mess up. If I go somewhere else and pay a couple grand a month, that doesn't work out, fine, whatever. I'll just eat the loss and come back or whatever.
100%, dude.
So.
Jason, you're a stud, dude.
Yeah,
you're a stud. I like this a lot. I feel like we're on a similar vibration, and I feel like I can just bounce stuff off you, and you can do it quick. My last question for you, though, before we wrap up, is I always ask this question because I like getting into the mind of people. So if you could go back in time, the Jason Wojo today, 9-figure stud online, crushing it, about to move across the country, potentially travel the world, killing it, multiple McLarens, could give the high school you advice that was probably a little self-secure, a little bit timid, a little bit of an introvert, about life, success, business, to help accelerate your learning curve to who you are today, what would that advice be?
I'd probably just say hang in there. Just 3 words. Because it was tough growing up. Not gonna front. And I used money as a tool to kind of get back at people when I was not getting what I wanted when I was younger. So I would just say hang in there. Not any life advice, but just 3 words. Yeah.
I love it, dude. I love it. It's funny that you say that, because the advice that I give my salespeople or new salespeople is just be here a year from now, which I guess extrapolate over time is that, right? If you just stick in there long enough, you'll figure it out. Yeah. Bro, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, of course, bro.
Where can people find you if they want to get connected, learn more?
Yeah, they can go on Instagram at the Jason Wojo. I also have a new book. They can pre-order it. If they go to officialjasonwojo.com, they can get it. Just pay for the shipping. And also, if you go to scaleyouraddsevents.com, they can see if I'm coming to a city near you for our free 2-day live events.
Dope, dude. Guys, definitely plug in this dude. He's a wizard when it comes to ads, online, marketing, and just a great dude when it comes to leadership, sales, communication. And just appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, bro, of course. Thank you.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next week's episode. We'll catch you later.